What do you get when you combine a Brit, the city of Pittsburgh, and TikTok? Apparently, 2 million views and over 50,000 followers. Harrison Zepp is joining us today to tell us about his journey through the Steel City.
What is going on?
What's going on, man?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
You showed up here pretty early today. You're a punctual guy.
I try my hardest.
It's funny, we were talking about this before, and it's like to be number one in a new city, but then also to make this connection through Instagram with you and I, and then to just like show up to an office and then no one's there. Like, was there a second where you were like, maybe these guys aren't coming?
I was filming the podcast without you or with you, so no. I mean, I say yes to as many opportunities as I can. I think I've tried and lived like that the whole time I've been in America. Obviously, I came over here not knowing anyone, so
sure.
Anyone that I meet after that is obviously a bonus. So when you reached out, of course, I jumped straight on it, and if you turned up, you turned up,
yeah.
and if you didn't, you didn't. So
yeah,
we had a theory that you might have gotten paid off by somebody in Pittsburgh who lived here to promote Pittsburgh and maybe grow soccer here. I don't know. I mean, that's just a theory. I don't know who you know here yet. Maybe you met somebody at the Duquesne Club or something. I don't know.
Yeah, how did you end up in Pittsburgh specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, how I kind of live my life, especially after graduation, is kind of month by month. So I kind of close my eyes, look at the map, and just choose a place next. I was in Florida, and like I have a bit of a problem, like an itch to scratch with moving. Like even though I loved it in St. Petersburg, Florida, I had a very good life there. The sun, palm trees, pool, the whole shebang. And I just had an itch to scratch. And I'm talking to my girlfriend, and she does sales, and it's kind of her first sales job, and she was learning the ropes online, like trying to start this sales position remote. Learning a new skill through Zoom can be difficult. So I kind of just said to her, do you think that if you was in person, you would learn at a faster rate and maybe get a bit more success when it comes to sales? And she said, yeah. And I was like, okay, let me think worst case, best case scenario here. Worst case, we're there for a month. She doesn't enjoy it. We close our eyes, look at the map, choose the next place. Best case scenario, she enjoys it. I didn't really think too much about how moving to Pittsburgh could benefit me because I can be anywhere with my business and stuff. So we came to Pittsburgh, and honestly, after like 10 days of being here, like I knew that it was a really good move for both of us. So
that was that November you got here?
I've been here 4.5 weeks now.
That's it?
I don't know the date I've been. Yeah, 4.5 weeks.
Holy shit. I was thinking it was way longer than that.
No, it's because I post 5 times a day on TikTok. That's why. So people see my face a lot.
The first TikTok I saw was you on the is at the gym downtown with the basketball court.
Yeah.
That was the first one I saw.
Taj, upstairs in a Taj.
That one, and then I saw the one where you saw the sign for Squirrel Hill.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Giant Eagle too. I saw that one
They're
also.
the 3. So the first video I did was day 1 of me being in Pittsburgh on that roof with the basketball court. And I was just talking about how Pittsburgh and Manchester, which is near where I'm from in England, are very similar in regards to blue collar and the kind of architecture between like modern and kind of like historic.
Sure.
And honestly, like before I came to Pittsburgh, everybody in Florida was like, what are you doing moving to Pittsburgh? And I was like, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And I'd only kind of heard of people's opinion.
Yeah.
And then I came, and like it was already a pleasant experience day 1, just from what I was seeing with the mixture of like the bridges, the water, the mixture of the buildings, and all my interactions day 1 with people was so friendly. So I kind of fell in love from day 1, and just documented that through a video. And just so happened the very first video I did in Pittsburgh got like 400K. And that's 400,000 views of people all in Pittsburgh. So people in Pittsburgh, I only got really sent out to them. So then from there, people have seen a lot of me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. What part of Florida were you in?
St. Petersburg.
Oh my God, dude. That's one of the best
nice
places.
Area,
yeah.
Yeah. It wins awards every year for like top 3 best places in America to live. Like happiest as well. And it's definitely that. Like it's impossible to not be happy in St. Pete.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a hidden gem, to be honest.
Were you like the St. Pete beach side, like around there?
Downtown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was at the heart of downtown. So I was walking distance of the pier, and then the beach itself was like an 8-minute drive from my doorstep.
Okay. So were you near the Rowdy Stadium?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know St. Pete well?
The Riverhounds, we played Tampa Bay every year. And so we would go stay I don't know the area it's right near where you're talking about, because we would walk from our hotel to the Rowdy Stadium. And it was we're in this hotel that out my window, there would be just this block of bars. Yes. And every night it sounded like the jellyfish jam from SpongeBob, just like through the glass. And we'd walk, take all our gear, like right down the street to the stadium. We'd play. I mean, their stadium it's a baseball field, but it's a cool stadium. Yeah. And I mean, that was my favorite trip. I mean, obviously just because it's St. Pete in Florida, and we'd go there in like, November and get away from 40 degrees.
The Rowdy Stadium's sick. Like it's got like the backdrop of the water and stuff like that. Like as far as stadiums go, it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a great setup. I mean that the stadium itself is a little old, but I mean for USL stadiums, like it's definitely one of the best.
Yeah, it's top. Yeah. I mean, I won't complain playing on it. It's an absolute carpet. No. You've got the water and the palm trees.
Yeah, the grass too. That's another thing. I mean, here, have you been to Highmark Stadium yet? Where the Hounds play?
I have not.
On the river?
No, I've spoke to their marketing team to do some social media for them as well. But the season's obviously...
Yeah, I guess you got here after the season ended.
Yeah. So we're kind of waiting on that.
Oh, you'll have to go, man. I mean, it's, again, we're talking about the comparisons between, being at the Etihad and all these other places. I went to FC Porto. I saw them play as well, and that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, there was actually a guy from the BBC who came to Highmark when it opened, and he said it's one of the best backdrops in all of the world.
It's got the bridges and the
it's
water.
Great. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I went to a game with you for the first time, and I was like, wow, I need to come out here and do this more often because it's just so nice.
Yeah, drinks are cheap,
and I mean, there is crowds there. Like it will draw somewhat of a crowd, but like, I mean, I wish we had a big crowd for it. To be honest with you,
it's been growing. I mean, since 2014, I think. Now they're up to about 6,000 capacity, which is, I mean, on the lower side, but you're competing with 3 major sports, obviously, so that makes it tough. But I mean, we were there. Dollar Dog Night, dude. That was the best. We each ate like 6 hot dogs each.
I felt like so sick the rest of the day after that.
Yeah. It was a rough one.
Have you been to a Steelers game yet?
I have.
Yeah, so you went, right?
They invited me to a game, I think 2 weeks ago. I went to the Browns.
Oh, okay.
I think they'd lost to the Browns at the Browns home stadium.
That was a snow globe game.
Quite a big game, and the coach came over to me and introduced himself.
Wow.
I threw the ball for like a few minutes with one of the players, came over and said hello. They took really good care of me, and it was a good experience. I'm trying to pull some strings to get me to kick a field goal or something like at halftime or something along them lines, but still working on that.
Yeah. So how do all these opportunities come about? I mean, is it like someone's reaching out to you through your TikTok, or do you handle all that? Do you reach out or?
Yeah, I mean, it's all been very new. So obviously when I was in Florida, the influencer market is super saturated. There was a girl in my apartment complex that had 1.1 million. She wasn't even getting like recognized or many brand deals and stuff. So like I wasn't going to get recognized with 35K, which is what I had when I was in Florida. Sure. I came to Pittsburgh, and it doesn't seem like there's many content creators that make content about Pittsburgh itself. There's people that make content that like live in Pittsburgh, but it's not known knowledge. So when I came here and I'm kind of documenting my experience of Pittsburgh, and people are kind of seeing it through my eyes, a lot of brands see that as a good opportunity, especially like Pittsburgh-based brands. So I think for the first, up until about 4 days ago, I was handling it all myself. They would just reach out to me. But then I was like, this is taking up too much of my time. And like the negotiation of like, prices and stuff like that, like it's very new to me. I've gone from not having any brand deals to coming to Pittsburgh and like all these companies asking me to do things for them, and like criminally undercharging myself based on like my engagement of my followers. So then, with me having a business and that being my main focus, I don't want to be spending time emailing companies in Pittsburgh about me doing a video for them. Of course I enjoy it and stuff, but like I would way rather somebody take care of that. That's their job.
Just out of curiosity, because I've been in a boat in a much smaller sense, but I have like intentionally not wanted to work with anybody with anything at all for like, I don't know, 2 years. Because I felt like it was taking away from stuff I was working on, right? And you had the same kind of deal here. So what do you weigh the like brand deal and what you get out of it versus funneling people into, your funnel for your business? Because I think that would be a hard draw too. Like, okay, I'm going to take a brand deal, but really all those clicks, it could be a viral video, go towards something else that might be 10% of the margin of what you'd make in your business, which, you're taking 90+% of it. where do you get into balancing that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Honestly, it's really difficult, and it's something I'm still attempting to kind of come to grips with. But ultimately, like, my goal with social media, specifically TikTok, so I have a different goal for TikTok than I do. I'm starting my YouTube channel and Instagram as well. TikTok for me is a way for me to document my life, all the problems I face, how I, found solutions to overcome them, and kind of show people the life I live, outside of being a business owner. So I don't really talk about my business on TikTok for a reason. I want TikTok to be the way that I share this authentic content.
Yeah.
For YouTube and Instagram specifically, it's going to be way more like educational content about soccer scholarships specifically, which is, YouTube's a very good platform for traffic into a business, or at least just, nailing down a niche specifically. So to answer your question, TikTok is only really right now for me brand deals, and I want to spend zero time talking to brands really, because I want to spend 100% of my time on business, because that's my goal. So yeah, I think that having a talent manager or something like that is definitely something I would advise, even though they obviously take a cut and whatnot. To me, it's worth it because my time's more valuable than it is to send emails every single day to brands.
Sure.
So you're splitting those up, which I think is kind of a very smart idea. So talk through the business that you have, because I don't know. I mean, we did talk about it out there. Go through kind of what it is, what you do. Talk about any part of it, really.
Yeah, so I help high school athletes get recruited to play college soccer. Obviously, everywhere in Europe, we don't call high school high school. Mm-hmm. So anyone from the age of 15 to 25 years old that's looking to move to America and play college soccer, we help them through the whole recruiting process. There's a massive information gap, throughout the whole process. And right now, the only solution for getting recruited to play college soccer is a done for you service. So that's how I even came to America in the first place. I came on a soccer scholarship. So I went through an agency. My experience was not good. I think when you give all this power to an agency to make decisions on your behalf, you kind of get left in a position that I was left in. And I know a lot of other people that have come to America have experienced as well, where, they'll provide you offers from schools that you know nothing about the state, nothing about what your experience is going to be like. And then for me, I'm in the middle of nowhere in Ohio. When I communicated to my agency at the time, like, the most important thing for me was location and the quality of life. I'd kind of come to America and saw going pro as a bonus, like if a byproduct of the opportunity, not really my goal. And ultimately the agency took my information, discarded it, and treated me just like one of many customers. And that kind of feeling I had throughout the whole process of, they brought 2 offers to me. They promised me 3. I got 2 offers. I'm choosing between these 2 schools, one in Ohio, one in Virginia. And I looked to my agency and I'm like, which one do I choose? And they're like, we've done our job. We've brought you offers. Now it's up to you.
Just pick one.
So then I'm looking at my parents, and our knowledge of America is literally, we'd been to Disneyland in Florida. So I'm like, every place is like Disneyland.
Super skewed, yeah. Oh boy.
And I'm like, okay,
every place.
What's worst case scenario? My parents are like, well, ultimately, Harrison, we just want you to be safe. So let's just look. We're Googling the crime rate in these 2 schools, and we make a decision based on the percentage of the crime in these 2 schools.
Wow.
So I come to the University of Findlay in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Not that there's absolutely anything wrong with the school or anything like that. It just wasn't what I was told. And that feeling of being lied to, I shared with hundreds of other athletes that did the same thing as me. And a lot of people accept that that's almost like their fate, and accept that that's their experience and just move on from it. I'm just not that type of person.
Yeah.
Not that there was any resentment, because ultimately there's a ton of amazing things that's happened as a result of me being like misled. But that feeling of being misled and lied to has never left. And that's ultimately why I started the business in the first place. So my kind of business doesn't end at the point of getting offers. Mine's the whole pastoral care afterwards as well. So things like homesickness, culture shock, all these different problems that you're going to inevitably face when you get over here. I've provided solutions for all these different things because of a platform called School, which we spoke about off the podcast.
So are your clients, do they come mostly from UK, Europe, or I mean, I guess, or could they be coming from a bunch of other countries towards America? Like is it outside coming to America, or is it kind of anywhere going anywhere?
Yeah, so my niche is international athletes. Mm-hmm. So all four corners of the world we've worked with guys from Egypt, girls from Switzerland, guys from UK, literally all four corners, any continent. If you are looking to both get a degree and pursue soccer a little bit further, and a soccer scholarship is an option for you, that's something we'll explore. And we don't take absolutely everybody. There's, they have to want it for themselves as well, and they have to be sure that this is the next step for them. What we do is never been done before, and the reason I do it how I do it is because of my experience.
Yeah. I find this really interesting because, having played college soccer as an American, I mean, I'm from Pittsburgh. I've lived here pretty much my entire life. I went to the University of Pittsburgh. And now, I mean, the landscape looks a little different, but it's relatively similar. I had a lot of international teammates. At the time I had 2 from England. I had one guy from Scotland who went through a similar agency, and he only lasted a semester. He was from Edinburgh, I believe, if I remember that correctly. And so, he ended up here. He said he had, he was looking at Pitt, he was looking at Louisville, like a bunch of ACC schools. And I remember thinking, how did that come about? Like he even said the same thing. It was kind of just like a pick and choose type of thing. And he was here for a semester, and then he was very homesick. He actually used to leave the dorm at 3 a.m. to go for walks. You've been to Pitt's field. Right down the hill is the Hill District, which is not where you want to hang out at 3 a.m. And one time we saw him, we kept seeing him leave, and one day we were like, "Where are you going, man?" And he was like, "Oh, I just go for walks behind the facility." And we're like, "Don't ever do that again." And then, he would go with these headphones on and just not even.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
He That's asking for something.
FaceTime his parents or something.
Yeah, he was just like, I just gotta, he would go to the locker room and just shower because we had key card access and just go, do whatever. And we were like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. You're not gonna come back one of these days. But similar situation, there was a bunch of guys even from Australia, from even Canada. And I remember looking at, you went to Finley, right? And I knew a guy that I trained with growing up who went there. I don't know if he ended up playing all 4 years. This was, 10 years ago at this point, but I've seen, I'll look at rosters or whatever and see this obscure school in the middle of nowhere has all these players from these far reaching places. And I'm like, how do they end up there? Because I, as someone from Pittsburgh, nothing against the University of Finley, but I would have never looked to go there because I don't want to spend, 4 years of my life in the middle of Ohio, And so I know that, but someone coming from another country is going to have no idea. And there's colleges everywhere. The perfect city school that has a good program and a good education, that's not really everywhere. There's a select few schools that are going to have that. And then to know that from the outside looking in, that's a tough thing to navigate.
I think there was even people in Ohio that didn't even know the University of Finley.
Yeah.
And week 1 for me, when I'm turning to these other Americans at my school, they're like, why have you come to the University of Finley? And I'm like, I was told this was a good option. So how it kind of worked out for me is I was dancing around semi-pro and in and out of academies and stuff. And I got released from Sheffield United Academy at 17. An agency came to me and was like, look, you can go to America on a soccer scholarship. Have you heard of that before? And I'm like, no, I don't know anybody in a 45-minute radius of me in my hometown back in England that has done this. So this is so new to me. And he kind of sells me on this opportunity. Harrison, you're going to go to the MLS. We'll take you to the top of college soccer. And I'm like, this is sound pretty good. You're selling me, and me, 17-year-old, I'm turning to my parents and they just want to give me every opportunity that they can. They're like, Harrison, if this is what you want, this is what we'll do for you. So we go with this agency, $6,000 it was, not really knowing what I'm paying for, but you're putting all this trust in an expert, right?
Yeah.
So go with this agency blind, and bearing in mind, the agency world, this is across the board in every country. They're all faceless. So they hide behind this company name. You don't know who runs them. You don't know what goes behind the scenes. You're just going blindly. There's no brand loyalty. Like there's nobody that's like, I have to go through this agency. It is literally like, okay, I know somebody who's gone through this agency. I know somebody that's gone through that agency. I'll feel it out and just see the feeling I get. So there's no like, you know, when I thought about starting this business, the kind of barrier to entry for me was very low, because there is no like agency that's like so much better than everybody. Everybody kind of has a similar experience at everyone, and there's no real reason why people choose. But anyway, they came to me and kind of pitched me on America. I paid them. I go to this trial day, and the reason I say trial day like that is because they kind of pitch it as like, this is your opportunity to prove to us that we'll accept you in our agency type thing. Everybody gets accepted. So really now, knowing business like I do, it's a sales day. It's an opportunity for them to get you in, foot in the door. You've already got a bit of skin in the game. You're meeting other people who are potentially going to be in the agency as well. You go into this trial day, sales day. Everybody's playing against each other. It's all for like clips. Like people are just shooting from 40 yards out. There's no team aspect. They are just trying to get as many people together. So like when they pitch you at the end of this game, you're making an emotional decision. You're looking around and you notice this guy's gone with the agency and this guy's been sold and this guy's been sold. And you're like, bit of FOMO. You're like, well, I should probably do the same.
Yeah.
Really, really clever. And I understand the business model very well. I don't like it, but I respect it. Of course, like I understand the psychology and everything involved in that process. Decided to go through the agency, and you know, these months that you won't talk to these agents, and you're just kind of like, what are they doing? But like, there's nothing for you to say because you know nothing about the process itself. So like, you're just hoping that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then they promised me a minimum of 3 offers. They get me 2 offers. Like I said, you know, when it comes to choosing which offer, they're not there, and then their job's done at that point. So like when you're making the move to America, they don't do anything to prepare you for the move. You know, when the first time I arrived on campus was the first time I knew where I was, what my experience was going to be like. And you shouldn't move to the other side of the world, away from your family, not knowing what your experience is going to be like. You should be making informed decisions. And like I said, there's a big information gap, and that's what I'm looking to fill. And then also the aspect of not knowing anyone in America as well. The only friends that you inherit are potentially the ones on the roster of your team. Other than that, like, it's really difficult for you to meet anybody because you don't have a car when you come over here. So like, you can't meet people from other schools. You obviously, America's massive, so you're not going to like talk to people when you're living in Ohio, in Colorado. You've got no really connection to anybody. So you're completely stranded. So I operate my business through schools, so that way people have this support system the moment they arrive. Before, after, there's alumni in it, there's people who are on the way to coming over here, and there's people that are currently over here. So the moment you arrive, you have connections in Colorado, Utah, Oregon, Washington, DC, Pennsylvania, all 4 corners of America. You have somebody. So when it comes to things like playing summer league and stuff, it's very, very easy to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
It sounds like those agencies, at least from the outside looking in, what I think you're bringing a lot of good value to is that you have experienced it directly. And from what you've expressed, did anybody from there say, I've experienced this before from the agency? Because it doesn't sound like either they did or maybe they didn't do it fully from another country to here. Because, like I've traveled a lot. I came from California to Pennsylvania on a sports scholarship too. It's not moving the country, but I didn't know anybody here. The only reason I was okay with doing that was because I've known athletes in my hometown that did that and moved that far away. That was one of the only reasons. They're like, you'll go to college and you'll be okay. I've heard of this school. Like, I've been to Pittsburgh, yada, yada. And that was like one of the only reasons I even said yes. Did the agency even tell you like, oh, we've done this exact thing before?
Are you talking about like the agency talking about their past clients before, or past clients talking about their experience?
No, them. Has anybody from the agency ever said, I've done it? Because what you bring to the table, I think, is the fact that you've experienced it personally, and you are that face to the brand, which is I think, a really powerful, because if you've seen the same cookie cutter style setup from agencies with little nuances that are different, but nobody's been like, oh, I actually did this exact thing. I get it. It doesn't mean they need to be from the UK, but like, I did that move.
Yeah. All agencies pretty much how they even are created in the first place is somebody has gone through an agency, had a bad experience, they've created their agency, another one, with the intention to give people a better experience. But the agency business is super traditional. It's very done for you service. There has never been a done with you service where you incorporate, for example, School the platform. I've got a calendar, so I have one-to-many calls, so people are able to connect inside the calls, Q&As. There's the community aspect, so you've got your support system, you've got the ability to navigate homesickness with people, and then you've got classroom courses and calendar, and then in the classroom I post videos on, okay, if you're feeling homesick, watch this video. If you're going through a bit of culture shock, watch this video. Mm-hmm. If you're looking to transfer, watch this video, because more than likely, if you're experiencing a problem, somebody has already experienced that problem too. That whole way of doing it has never been done. It's very done for you service. You pay us money, we get you recruited, then you're done. And to answer your question, everybody who starts an agency starts it with the intention of giving people a better experience. But because of how traditional the agency industry is, they all end up operating the business the same. Because it is a done for you service, there's no flexibility.
Yeah.
So when you're able to do a done with you service like I do, there's kind of a limiting belief for pretty much when it comes to business, a done for you service is always going to be better. If you could pay Alex Emosi to fully build a business for you,
oh sure,
you would do it.
Yeah.
Because it's better for him to do that than it is for you to work with him, because there's less wiggle room for mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. If he's doing it for you, sorry. But with this, there's almost like a limiting belief that a done with you service is actually better, because every step of the way, you're able to become informed. So, when I'm looking at schools based on, so the process that I follow, I reverse engineer the ideal scenario. And I do this in my life with everything. So first and foremost, I went to a school that I didn't know anything about. That is a huge issue. So the way I kind of make sure that doesn't happen is step one, when I'm working with clients, we go through something called sourcing schools. So I'll create a list, and I'm giving a bit of sauce away here. I create a list of 20 schools based on the criteria that the kid and the parents outlined to me. So whether it's a budget, whether it's location, whatever their overriding goal is, we only look at schools that fit them criteria. So we'll only connect them with schools that fit them criteria. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's an element of advice on our end. If somebody's saying, I want to go D1 and they're just not a D1 caliber player, I'll set them up for success to end up at a D1 school with the plan to maybe transfer year 2.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say you can go from playing Sunday League in England to going straight to Division 1. Yeah. What I'll do instead is maybe map out a bit of a roadmap for them in regards to, maybe we take you to a junior college first, make sure that you get your 4.0 GPA so you're able to get some academic scholarship when it comes to transferring. Ball out in your first 2 years, make sure your team does well, you get some accolades, and then D1 is certainly on the cards at that point. Mm-hmm. An agency is not going to do that. If you say D1, they're just going to how agencies work, they send out mass emails to 300 colleges because they boast about all these connections. So they send out this mass email, and based on the responses they get is the responses they provide for you as the client. They'll be like, these schools are interested based on our connections. These schools are interested. Mm-hmm. Pick. We're not, and the issue with that is when you get to getting offers, you're getting offers from schools you know nothing about. When it gets to the final stage of getting offers in our process, you're getting offers from schools we have already picked out, so we know that you can afford them. We know that they're in a location that you're comfortable with. We know that they're going to put you on a good path to achieve these goals. So that's step one for me. Step two is making sure you're eligible for these schools. Whether it's taking an SAT exam or a TOEFL exam if you don't speak English. And then third, so we've got sourcing schools, eligibility. Then we put you in contact with these schools. We give you the same scripts I used when I got 56 offers when I transferred. 56 offers, by the way, is not normal.
No, that's a ton.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's very. No client I've ever had has ever got 56 offers. I've had somebody come close and got 41, but nobody's got 56. And of course, you can imagine when I got 56 offers when I'm transferring, bearing in mind, when I'm transferring year 3, I'm looking at my agency can you help me? Because they help me get over here. They're the experts, and they turn to me and say, that's an extra $4,000. I'm like, there is no way I'm paying you a single penny.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to figure this out myself. And a ton of trial and error involved and ton of different, like, I'm really, really into psychology. So I graduated with a psychology major in international business. That's kind of where my background come from. So I'm using psychology in all these emails, you know, leveraging connections with players and all these different things. Ultimately, I've pulled all the scripts I used and then I gave them to my friends who were also trying to transfer at the time. So this is junior year of college. And then I noticed the scripts are working for them as well. And they're getting 14, 15 offers. I'm like, this stuff works.
Yeah.
You know, and then about 6 months ago, I actually started a full-fledged business, but with already like almost 200 clients that I worked with around 50, 60 for absolutely free.
Yeah.
Because I was building this like backlog of
testimonials.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Testimonials. Exactly. That's the word. So, you know, these people have all made videos for me and they all like got an absolute steal because they're now transferred to schools probably that they never even dreamed of going to on scholarship packages that they never even thought they was able to get. So to tie a bow on the kind of process, we've got sourcing schools, eligibility, then we put them in contact. The fourth and final stage is actually negotiation. And this is a huge thing that I did when I was transferring that got me 12 full ride offers out of the 56. Full ride is like everybody's dream. You know, for me, looking to my parents, I wanted to save them as much money as I can. But full ride's very rare to get. You know,
especially
when you hear
soccer.
You hear of people on full rides, you're like, you've done well. You're either a big time baller or you know some of the other people don't. And I used to be really good. As I kind of went through college, I kind of got worse and worse as I got bigger and I was kind of filling out my body. And I came to America and I was like this nimble winger, you know, and then, you know, by the end of college, I was playing as a number 9, back to goal, you know, pushing people out the way as I started putting on a bit of weight.
Yeah,
exactly. So my game had just changed. So when I was transferring, I didn't have a ton of like stats, you know, specific to a position. So like packaging myself as something that is valuable to a coach was something I had to learn. You know, this marketing and this is where I get my business experience from. So the final stage is negotiation and we actually negotiate the scholarship packages as well, which is agencies don't do that because their interest isn't to save you money. Their interest is to get you recruited and that is where they've done the job. And it's not easy, but once you know how it's done and you know how to talk to coaches and you know what to leverage and apply for different academic scholarships like writing essays and different interviews and stuff like this, there's a ton of stuff you can do to save parents money along the process. And that's just something that agencies don't do that is huge, you know, and it's not a massive amount of effort on our behalf, but it's so worth it because, you know, the price for our service then can be seen as an investment because they're actually saving money that they wouldn't if they didn't go through us. So like it makes it very easy for us to create this no-brainer offer when we're, you know, on calls with potential clients because I've saved over $5 million in scholarships for my past clients. So, you know, part of our guarantee is that we can save parents over $40,000 on tuition across the 4 years and we average that out. So it might not be $10,000 for the first year, it might be $4,000, but like all in all, you will save $40,000 in tuition through going with us because of our ability to negotiate and all these different things we can do.
What an idea, dude.
That was a lot.
Yeah, no, but that's exactly what
he's got
his
pitch deck down. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't sure if you knew he's got that thing down.
Yeah. It sounds like this is like the thing that's needed. And you've got it down pat. So, what an idea.
So you do this with a sport that you know the most. What, in terms of expanding a business, I think it would make sense potentially in the future that like, what if you had another person like you from a different sport to kind of partner up and do it the same thing for another sport? I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but for example, I was a swimmer. You know, there's a very high chance that you could do the same thing with like swimmers because it's not, the main sports in America. So there's a lot of people that don't know this, that don't get as much help as like if you play football or baseball, you know, and that kind of stuff.
Definitely something I've thought about, and it's not, I'm not really in a position in regards to like the process of growing a business. I'm nowhere near that yet. I've thought about it, and honestly, like, there still is a whole untapped market. So I kind of put people in 3 buckets. So we'll talk about soccer specifically. There's the people who know about soccer scholarships and are in the position of deciding which agency to go with. So traditional agency or maybe us. That's bucket one. So they know a little bit about the process itself. They're just picking from them options. You've then got bucket two, who are people that have heard about a soccer scholarship but don't know how to do it. So they've got a basic level of knowledge about the process or maybe like, which route to go to, but they're not even aware that agencies are a thing. So obviously the how to grab them is usually through ads. Whichever agency pays the most for ads usually grabs them. Then you've got this third bucket of people that don't even know that soccer scholarships are a thing. Because America and soccer in America is still growing, it's not quite where it needs to be. There's still a massive bucket of people that don't even know about the opportunity. So, when I'm going to be doing these YouTube videos and stuff, I'm going to be their first point of contact to even find out about this opportunity. So the reason why I'm a little bit tentative to kind of go into other sports is because there's simply not enough agencies and like fulfillment from an agency's perspective to even like fulfill on them on that bucket of people. So like, it doesn't make sense for me to then delve into different sports when there's still a huge amount of people that we can still work with.
Yeah,
that's true. I think that's fair. I think it just opened up the the thought process that soccer, which by the way I'm sure pains you to say soccer, is so big everywhere else that it is a very good funnel for you. I mean, because it's so big in some other countries. Like Americans don't even know how big it is in some areas. It's just astronomical. So you have this really wide landscape for it. But I was just curious from the fact that if you've even thought about that far, or if you're like, in the future it does make sense. Like there's some really niche areas that I think would benefit, but it's like, I don't know, you're gonna take you'd be able to niche down on some sports, but it's such a small margin compared to soccer that I don't know if it'd be like worthwhile. Like water polo is a big one, where we had a guy from Serbia in high school come there to play water polo at my school. They didn't have water polo on this side of the States, I swear. But we had like 4 or 5 Olympians from my high school in about a 10-year span in water polo. He came in high school just to play with our high school team. And later he wanted to come back for college. So I was like, wow, talk about an untapped market I didn't even know about. This guy from Serbia was like played in the Olympics and the Serbian national team. He just trained with us, essentially. That's all he did. So I'm sure there's other sports that might be out there if you grow that, the business part of the business, not the soccer part of the growth for your clients.
Totally agree. And honestly, the recruiting process for all sports is pretty much identical. It's the same methodology that you can apply to all sports. So it would work for all sports, and it's applicable for all sports. And actually, there's a lot of agencies that's the route they go. But Alex Mosey says more, better, new. To me, that more aspect, I'm going to drive that home to just do more of what works for as long as I possibly can. So that's the kind of thought process that I go through. But it's definitely a thought, and I've considered it, and other agencies do it. So clearly there's opportunity there.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely got to go narrow first with what you know. I mean, I do the same thing in my business. Like, I mean, I market to former athletes who maybe were once high-level athletes in whatever capacity. It could be high school, it could be college, could be, even pros or whatever. And then take one of two paths. They end up like myself. They go right into fitness or something that keeps them fit. And then they still feel like they have that remnants of being an athlete at one point, or they take 5 years off and end up way out of shape. And they're like, how was I ever a high-level athlete? And then I turn them back around. And so they say, like, if you're for everybody, you're not for anybody, So, I mean, if you have that niche, like, you hammer that until it's time to, you've got the organization and the logistics to then go wider. Yeah. And then from there, I mean, it just goes.
If it happens, it happens. I mean, I'm still very early, and there's a like I said, there's an untapped market that, like, there's different stages that I'm not even like nowhere near yet, which is really exciting as a business owner, knowing that, like, this past month has been our best month, especially like revenue generating for sure. So every month it's growing. We're getting more and more clients. We're getting, more success. So there's a ton of, it's really exciting. 2025 is going to be huge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Where was the other school besides Finley?
Yeah, so my kind of path went University of Finley year 1. I had a good freshman year. I did suffer a bit of shin splints, but whenever I played, I always played full games. So I did have a good backing when it comes to statistics or film as well. I tried transferring, didn't know the process because again, there's this misleading information, and I wasn't able to transfer because I didn't know the recruiting timelines and stuff like that. So then my coach was like, "You've got to stay even if you want to leave," basically, because I was Anyway, go sophomore year, and I want to transfer again. I really wanted to push on to go D1, and I was definitely good enough. So then year 2. My coach is like, listen, we really want you to stay. If we offer you a full ride, will you stay? So I'm like, money talks. I'm looking to my parents and I want to save them as much money as possible. It costs $58,000 to go to University of Findlay.
Wow.
So, to save my mum and dad a lot of money and be on a full ride, I decided to stay. And then junior year is when I decided to leave. And the reason why I even tell you that and not just answer it directly is because when it comes to year 3, I'm no longer wanting to push to a Division 1 school. My goal is to literally set myself up for after graduation. So what was most important to me is that I go to a school in a location that is thriving and there's going to be a ton of opportunities for me on my graduate visa, which is an OPT. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of like thinking business now. I've got my business hat on. So I'm reaching out to all these schools in prime locations. I get offers from Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona, Coastal Carolina, all these like decent D1 schools. And then I choose Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is a HBCU. There's 1,800 people at the school. And the reason I chose this school, A, I was on a full ride, and B, Raleigh, North Carolina is the capital. It's growing super fast. It's in this research triangle. So Google, Apple, all these big companies are coming. I'm thinking, this is going to be great. Raleigh was, I think, got an award for like one of the fastest growing cities in America. Yeah. So ultimately, I decided Shaw University because I felt it was going to give me the best chance to succeed after graduation. I go to Shaw, and my experience was actually amazing. When it comes to the location, it was everything that I wanted in a place. The school itself, not the best school when it comes to an education, but graduated with a psychology and international business degree. Basically, all my credits transferred. But even navigating something like that, like credits transferring, agencies don't help you with that.
No, that's a whole other thing.
And that is that can be a nightmare, and that can put you in some setbacks. Like if not all your credits transfer because you have a kind of almost like a niche degree, but you only have 2 years eligibility of the sport, but you can have more in school. You got to figure out and weigh that option. So I think like that's like a great example of something else that is, can be unique, but can be a real pain for people.
Dude, that happened to so many of my teammates where they transfer. I mean, these are like domestic players that would transfer from, like we had one guy come from High Point in North Carolina, came to Pitt, and none of his credits transferred. Like he was a junior starting as like a first semester sophomore. Another one came from, I don't know if I think it was a D2 in Iowa, maybe. Same thing, like put himself back like 3 years. And I mean, that was just coming to Pitt. And I think it's a little different leaving Pitt. Like I think the credits do transfer a little bit better, but that was on my mind too. I mean, I thought about transferring 2 times when I was at Pitt. I never did it, and I'm thankful that I didn't at this point. I mean, I waited until I graduated, and then I went to another school, which like obviously that works out because you already have your degree. But I mean, there's just so many options to weigh. And then now, like with the transfer portal, like people just transfer like just on a whim, it feels like. And there's so many other things to think about. And I've always wondered about that myself. I'm like, how are you just going? Like, I mean, there's so much money at play there. Like, it's not like it's just like you transfer and it's all good and it's just, one to another and it's fine. Like, you're potentially setting yourself back thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Shaw tried keeping me there another year, basically saying to me that my credits weren't going to transfer. And I basically I knew some people who were lawyers at the time, and I basically spoke to them, like friends of friends, like friends' parents and whatnot. And I spoke to them. I was like, look, this is the situation. So then I'm very serious about my stuff. Like if a school is trying to keep me a year, and I have a goal of going into the business world, when I plan, for example, and I know that the information that I have is right and almost I can prove it, I speak to them and they're like, okay, based on everything you've given us, there's something here. So I go to the school and I'm like, I'm prepared to talk to DC, who are govern all these different schools and take this school to court. They're trying to keep me here a year and with visa and all these different issues. And basically, long story short, I graduated on time. And I know, like you just said, there's a ton of people who either transfer, don't graduate on time, or, you know, transfer and have to stay and pay another $50,000 or whatever the situation is. And this is a prime example of like how we provide a solution for a problem I've experienced. So obviously with transferring of credits, it can be an issue. So if somebody's goal is to go Division 1, they come to me and that is their end goal. When we send them to the first school, we take into account that they will have to transfer to go to that Division 1 school. Knowing that information, when we take them to the first school, I always advise people to, and this is a bit of a golden nugget for anybody who like doesn't want to go through an agency and who wants to maybe do it themselves, is declare as an undecided major, only take general electives, don't take any major specific classes. So then when it comes to you transferring, all your credits are going to transfer because the gen eds and like, you know, English 101, math 101, they're all going to transfer. They're pretty much applicable. So when it comes to transferring, you're not set back. Then you can decide what major you want to do. So for your last 2 years of college, you're actually deciding what major you want to do and only do major specific classes. And that's just like one of many things that, you know, I experienced a problem, I provide a solution. That's basically like what I've created the whole business on, is my experience. And I think, you know, you mentioned something, you know, a little startup you're starting as well. And like, it's from a personal experience. I think all the best businesses in the world, like, come from the individual experience of problem, finding a solution that is less stressful, less time consuming, less money involved, all these different things. Like, there's a clear value proposition there. And if you communicate in a way that is understandable to a potential client, sales will happen.
Yeah, definitely. So Shaw was trying to keep you for a fifth, was that would have been your 5th year?
Yes.
Okay. And so then so you only did 4 years of college soccer then?
3.5.
Okay. Well, so then the fall, right? So you'd be done in the fall. Did you graduate in the fall?
So I graduated a semester
December.
early,
Okay.
which was huge because then I went straight into door-to-door sales. And, you know, that's a whole other kind of worms, because door-to-door sales in itself, like, you know, it's not a thing in England for starters. Like, if you knock on someone's door, just how our culture is, like, we will, like, not answer the door, but, like, make it very obvious that we're in. Like, it's very, like, what you see is what you get. Like, you know, in America, it's a little bit different. America's a lot more welcoming and stuff like that. So the whole door-to-door scene, there's a lot of money in it. And it's also the most brutal version of sales you literally can get into. And I knew that. But being an immigrant coming to America, there's not a whole lot of opportunity for us. And I experienced that when I was kind of going through the interview process of doing my OPT, which is just your extension of your student visa. It means you can work. I experienced that a lot of companies would see me as more of a risk because they would potentially have to sponsor me for a work visa after, which is a cost on their end as well. So I really had no other option other than to go into door-to-door, because these cold calling jobs, like, anybody who's in sales or business will do that as an entry-level sales job. So I had to start right at the bottom. And, you know, how I even found the door-to-door sales job is I was actually like, I did a bit of personal training as well in my last year of college when I was in Raleigh. And I was training one of the sales leaders at this company. Anyway, long story short, before I even knocked my first door, I was promoted to a sales leader. So what that meant was I was recruiting my own sales team for a company that I hadn't even knocked a door for. So when I'm pitching to these guys and girls, like, oh, come join my sales team, and they're like, how long you been doing this? Like, what's the proof? I'm just like sharing the vision. Like, this is how much money I'm gonna make. You can make it too.
Tough sell.
Yeah, but I built the highest performing team in the company, and I was the highest performing rookie. So I learned a ton about sales, about resilience, about all these different things, like rejection. Door-to-door sales is brutal, and I actually recommend it to anybody because of how brutal it is. It takes you to a place where, like, any job after door-to-door sales is luxurious. Like, you know, when I'm like grinding 14 hours a day, I'm like, thank God I'm not knocking doors. You know, hats off to people who do that for year on year.
What were you selling?
Security systems. So I was going to these towns in the absolute boonies of North Carolina, you know, these like crime-riddled areas, and selling them security systems. And honestly, like, I learned a ton. Obviously, my psychology background helped a lot because psychology and sales come hand in hand. but I learned a ton about like being able to knock on a door and 45 minutes later have them handing over their credit card details for a security system they didn't even know they needed. Like security and stuff like that is obviously very valuable. You have to believe in the product itself. But for me, the most interesting part was the fact that I come from England and you wouldn't even be let in a house. And I was able to not only go into the house, but these people trust me enough to give me their credit card details to then install a security system an hour later.
Yeah.
So within knocking on the door to installing the system itself, it's like 2 hours. And like, that was just crazy for me. And at that point, I kind of realized like anything's possible in this country. You know, it's called the land of opportunity for a reason. And that to me was the first like wow moment. There's been a ton of them since 5.5 years I've been in America now. So
yeah. So the rate of success with door-to-door sales, isn't it like, I mean, if you knock on 100 doors, you're getting like what, 5 sales? I mean, I guess it depends on how good you are, but I read that stat somewhere.
Yeah, I can't remember honestly the stats I had. I just know that I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what was most important to me. So like, you know, it's a numbers game. Obviously, the more doors you knock on, the more sales you're going to make, the reps you get. Everything in life is about reps. Like even social media, for example, like I'm trying to get Bailey here to start posting on social media as well. And like my very first video, I probably thought about posting on social media probably from the beginning of me being in America, so 3.5 years, 4 years before actually posting my first video. And like, I was like, oh, well, I know it's not going to be good, or like, you know, what are people going to think, and all these different things. And honestly, I don't even worry what people think. I just like knew that it was going to be bad and like didn't get over the fact that like I was comfortable with it being bad. So my very first video, I'm literally like got the camera in my face and I'm like, hi, my name is Harrison. Like I've been wanting to do videos for a while and this is my first video. Like, welcome to my channel. Like I'm talking to TikTok as if like I don't know, like I'm just like super nervous. And pressing that publish button on that very first video was like the moment for me. Like everything got so much easier after that, because I was like, I've done it now. Like I got like 250 views and I got like 45 shares, which if anybody knows social media, like that's not good if you're getting that many shares and that many views. Like what that basically means is everybody in my hometown is sharing that around the group chat and is like ripping into me like, oh, look at this guy. Like what does he think he's doing? And that's also the culture in England. It's like, if you try anything that's outside of the box, like you do not like think you're better than us. You don't do anything different. Like you go to work, you get your paycheck, you live paycheck to paycheck. That's the culture. So for someone like me who's like posting on socials, they're not even interested on why I'm doing it. They're just like, why are you doing it? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I shared a ton of friends through the process of me posting on social media. And that's kind of like something that everyone goes through when they take a step into the entrepreneurial world anyway, because you're taking risks. You have to like sacrifice a ton, limit distractions and stuff like that. And you also find out who your true friends are as well, which is a really cool process for me, because like, you know, if you're friends with me, you're on a winning team. Like, and if you're not and you don't support me, like, best of luck to you. Like, no hard feelings, like, no problem. But I've met a ton of really, really cool people since I've like entered this world of the entrepreneur world, that I wouldn't have met because I would have stayed with my hometown friends if I didn't.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny you say that, because I mean, we had someone on a couple months ago who made his own, like he has his own clothing brand. Like he's from Pittsburgh. He and I are from the same side of town. And we were talking about Pittsburgh specifically and how did that start? It was something with just like how like people here like maybe aren't that supportive of people trying to go against the grain, and like to hear you say that being from another country. I mean, maybe like you're saying like Pittsburgh and where you're from are similar in that sense, and it's a weird thing. I mean, I even felt it myself a little bit. I mean, like we've all kind of done our own like on camera stuff, in some capacity, and like in the beginning, I never used to put myself on camera because I was like, why am I doing that? What are people going to think? It's the same thing. And now I feel the same way, where I'm just like, me hitting post, like that's money, and like anyone, the way I reason it in my mind is like, anyone that wants to say anything about that video, I'm like, I'll just be over here laughing my way to the bank, because that's a part of my business now. Like I'm not doing it just because I'm like, oh, people should listen to what I say. I do something that helps people, and if I can reach people through this thing, then that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Yeah. Every video I view as a lottery ticket, which is why I post 5 times a day on TikTok, and I'll do like, I know the optimal like amounts to post a day in a week for all platforms. I've studied this before I even started it because I was procrastinating for so long. Like, oh, I want to start. So basically, the way I kind of dealt with this procrastination was I just did a ton of research. So the moment I finally got over myself and decided to post, I've got all this wealth of knowledge. So like, you know, with YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it's very different. But yeah, from the moment I started on TikTok, like I've been posting 4 or 5 times a day for 2-3 months now.
That's a lot of content.
I've only been posting 5 months. Like it's not been long at all. Like to go from 0 to basically 50K, what I've got on TikTok now, like in 5 months is like unheard of. But honestly, like the biggest thing is just consistency. And I know it's like cliche, like a lot of people say it, but if you post every day for a long period of time, like, and you keep cashing in these lottery tickets, one will bang. Mm-hmm. My first one that did very, very well was me talking about how Americans can smell rain before it rains.
Is that not a thing for you?
Well, I just hadn't even thought about it as a concept. Huh. You know, one of my friends is like, it smells like it's going to rain. I'm like, you're kidding. Like, I've just not thought of this process before. So like, you know, literally 30 seconds after we have this conversation, I take to the camera and I'm like, can Americans really smell rain? And 3.9 million views.
Wow.
So then after that, like,
that's hilarious.
After that, I'm getting like 500K, 1-2 mil, and like just lottery tickets, just keep posting.
Wow. That's crazy of all the things. Cause I mean, that's like, you know, my entire life I've been like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think it's called Pediacore or something like that.
Yeah.
It's got a word. It's got a word.
It's something that like the grass gives off some smell or something? I don't know exactly.
Like musky or something.
There is a name for it though. Yeah. That's interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah. So going back to Pittsburgh, I mean, obviously, like, I feel like, I mean, you stand out being here because, I mean, it's not like, there are people, you know, from England or whatever country that come here to work, but to be on camera, you know, with your accent, which it does help in being in Pittsburgh, like, there's a lot of people in Pittsburgh that never leave, you know, and that's a thing that I've talked about with a bunch of different people that are not from here that talk about, you know, people that live in Pittsburgh never leave Pittsburgh and they're just kind of like in this bubble. And so to have somebody being from somewhere completely different here and just like it's like showcasing Pittsburgh for what it is like really cool to see, in my opinion, just being here my entire life. Because I've always thought, I mean, maybe I have a little bit of that in me where I'm like, I'm never going to leave. I mean, I lived in Westchester, which is still Pennsylvania. I lived in Virginia for a very brief amount of time. Then I did a month in Portugal. And, I mean, I think Pittsburgh's fucking sick, dude. I mean, when it comes down to, I mean, the vibes in the summer, I mean, you haven't experienced Pittsburgh summer yet.
Oh, dude, just wait.
It's awesome. Like, it's a completely different place. Like, right now, we're like, this is the rough stretch where it's, you get to February, you're like, shit, man, like, this is getting brutal. You might think about going back to Florida when you hit March or February, but.
Yeah, but then comes summer.
Summer.
You're going to want to stick around a little bit.
Summer's awesome. But,
so
I mean,
much fun.
All the stuff that you've experienced so far is like, all things that growing up for me has just been like, yeah, like that's a giant eagle, you know, and like, you know, just all the and I mean, I feel like you've been everywhere too. I mean, I scored your TikTok the other day. You've been to more restaurants in Pittsburgh than I think I've been to, and I've been here for 29 years, you know, and so I mean, like,
that's embarrassing, Will.
I mean,
come on,
I've been to a lot of places, but there's a lot of places I haven't been, and so I mean, like, how do you? Like, you just go out and just kind of explore, like, how do you pick and choose, like, where you're going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I have a notes app in my phone of, like, all the restaurants that have reached out to me asking me to come. And I kind of, like, you know, when I'm deciding where I want to eat, I just, like, pick.
Yeah.
And then just go. But honestly, I think that what's been really refreshing for Pittsburgh as a blue-collar city, it's like you said, people don't leave, is seeing someone who's not from here, has no, like, prejudgment, say nothing but good things, is like the affirmation that people from Pittsburgh, why they stay. Because a lot of people like stay, but like don't really know why. It's like they've got family here or whatever like that. But like actually like Pittsburgh's a really cool place. And like when I came in and, you know, all these like, you call them implants, like people who like are in Florida but not from Florida are all telling me like, you're going to hate it. You're going to be coming back in a month. And then to be here and then like have a really nice experience. Like the absolute best thing about Pittsburgh is the people. Like I've been to 27 states since I've been in America, which is quite a lot. I like to travel. Pittsburgh is by far the friendliest place I've been since I've been in America.
Wow.
And yeah, the people in Pittsburgh are top, like, especially for someone like me who I only have my girlfriend here. I knew nobody else, to be adopted, and everybody be so friendly and all these restaurant owners invite me to come feed me. And Giant Eagle reached out to me and like want to do a collaboration with me, and the Steelers are doing the same. Like, it's really, really cool for me as well, and it's something like I'm navigating as well. But ultimately, like the overriding feeling I get is just Pittsburgh is just one of the friendliest places I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And that's sick.
I've heard that. My teammates said that a lot. Like there was a guy from when I was a freshman from Australia, and he was saying like when he came here on his visit, like walking down the street, like people will look at you and like say hi or like good morning or like wave or whatever. And I mean, again, that to me is just like that's just how it is. But and then now having been in a few other places, like it isn't like that other places, which I find odd. But I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, growing up, like being anywhere with my parents, like you see a dude on the street, you give him a nod. That's just what it is, And I mean that adds to the charm, I guess. For sure.
I mean, having an accent in America is an absolute cheat code anyway.
It is a cheat code.
like
and it doesn't work the other way. I'll tell you that.
From experience.
Nope. No one gave a shit about my American accent.
Yeah, I come over here as a freshman and like instantly they say hello, I say hello back, like, wait, where are you from? And instantly it's like the rapport is just instant. Like people just trust you. And there's actually a stat that backs like an English accent is one, like I think the most trusted accent in the world. So like when I'm talking to people instantly, like the icebreaker's there. It's like, where are you from? And then it's like questions about me. And I'm like, well, where are you from? And they're like, I'm from here. Like everybody I speak to is from where I am. Like currently in the place where I'm talking. And yeah, it's just really cool that like people are interested. Because I think like the stereotype is Americans are ignorant. When in actual fact, like I don't think it's ignorance per se. I just think America's so big. You're lucky to find Americans that even have a passport, to be honest, from my experience.
That's
because
true.
If you want the mountains, you'll go to Utah or Colorado or something like that. If you want the beaches, you've got California, Florida. If you want a bit more remote, you've got Findlay, Ohio. I'm kidding, but there's just everything you want is available in America. But for me, the reason I travel is to actually experience different cultures, not necessarily terrains. There's a ton of different places that have amazing beaches, palm trees, mountains, across the whole world. But like, I would never have experienced Pittsburgh culture if I didn't come here.
Yeah.
Right. And then there is too, like there's so many cultures. Like oh my God, I was just talking about this the other day with somebody, but there's different parts of America that will come across as, probably very pretentious-y, and there's some that are very nice surface level, but they really don't really care about you. I think Pittsburgh and the Northeast is a lot more transparent. Like you're going to get how people think and what they actually think. I'm not from here originally, so I've seen like kind of both sides of that coin. Being from the West Coast, it has a certain cultural difference there. And I think it is hard though, because like if you have a bad experience with a couple Americans, from a different place, like it's not everybody, unfortunately. But at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, a lot of Americans, the first time they do travel, they don't know how maybe loud they might be or disruptive on accident, or how they think people should be friendly to them. And it's like, I'm like, well, hey, look, you just kind of walked into their country, right? You got to keep that in the back of your mind. And I think that Pittsburgh does a really good job of being transparent. I think being transparent is like unmatched here, which is a big reason that I like it too. I mean, like I've liked the people here too more than anywhere I've ever been. And I hate the winters. I love the summers though. So the summers actually make up for the winters.
It does.
Hence why I'm going to Florida for a week in February.
Yeah.
But
so
what would you just?
I'm gonna test you here.
Okay.
So I've got a list of Pittsburghese words.
Oh wow.
And I want to see what you know so far.
Like 3 of them I don't know on here.
There's some that I would have to see. Like I have some Pittsburghese in me, but I have like actively fought the accent my entire life because I'm gonna be real with you. When you hear like real Pittsburghese, I don't love it.
Different language.
It is. And like there's certain things that I say where it comes out, but I think you really have to know what to look for. So just to start here. First one is dippy.
Am I guessing what it is?
What it is. Yeah.
When I think dippy, I'm thinking like Dippin' Dots. So is it like a slang for that?
That's close. So dippy would be like dippy eggs. Like that's like
okay.
Over easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dippy eggs.
Like you could go into a restaurant and you could say like I want dippy eggs and they would know exactly what you mean.
Fair.
Yeah. How about chipped ham?
Chipped ham. Is that like bologna or something?
So it's ham that's thinly sliced. So there's Isley's chipped ham.
Okay.
So it's just lunch meat.
This is
ham.
all like Pittsburgh.
This is Pittsburghese.
Okay.
Like this is
Pittsburgh
this
only
is the dictionary.
I've never heard any of these.
This is literally do Yin speak Pittsburghese? And then
I don't
there's a
know what that
graphic.
one is in the middle.
Conniption?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
That's just
specifically.
like you're having a conniption.
Is
Like,
that a
the word-
Pittsburgh
You're having
specific
a
thing?
nightmare.
Like the word conniption is.
Yeah, but is that a specific Pittsburgh?
I
one?
think it's just the pronunciation.
Oh, gotcha.
I
Okay.
guess, but all right. What about
Conniption.
gum
Oh,
bands?
I had no idea. I've only heard Yinza.
Okay, so that was the easy one. See,
Yeah.
because the one TikTok I saw I heard you say yins, and I heard you say an at.
Oh yeah, that was with the
That's another
Brandon
one
Max
too, yeah.
video. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you bet.
wanted me to say a lot of Pittsburgh.
That's got to be a tough one to just come out of nowhere and saying Pittsburgh words.
I went to a Dance Mums Christmas party, which was a bit of a random one. Do you know Dance Mums?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
They have that one lady
I
here.
don't know how I ended up there, but
That's
I was there.
a obscure one.
They got me on stage and was like asking me similar questions to what you're asking me, and like everyone there had their phones out, and probably
Oh.
a lot of people got these
Yeah,
videos
well, that's
on phone.
that's in Penn Hills,
Mm-hmm.
the Dance Mom Studio. What about Warsh?
Wash. So I mean, like something's bad.
Mm.
No.
Warsh would just be like wash your hands.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, they just had an extra R for no reason.
No
my
reason. Just make it more
my
difficult.
nana used to say that all the time. Let's see what else
Wash
we got
your
here.
hands.
Gutchies.
Gushies.
Gutchies.
Gut cheese. No idea.
That would be like your boxers.
Your gut cheese.
Yeah, your gutchies. Yeah. You pull your
Yes.
pull your gutchies up. Yeah, that's
We're
your
talking
underwear.
a different language.
We are. Let's see what else we got here. South side.
That's just an area of Pittsburgh.
That's the south side. Yeah. So that's
the
the one
south
that I
side of
will say, like the south instead of south, it has an AH instead of the OU sound. Nebby.
Nebby. You call someone a nebby? Like an idiot?
So a nebby would be like you're like I don't even know how to describe that. Like if someone is like wanting to listen in on someone's conversation or like, you know,
Oh,
pry.
okay, so like
they're being
nosy,
nebby.
we
Yes.
call it.
Yeah, they're being nebby.
Understood.
What else we got here? Okay, this is a phrase. Kennywood's open.
Well, I've been to Kennywood.
Uh-huh.
I went there about 2 weeks ago. Kennywood's open means Kennywood's open.
Kennywood's open means your fly is down.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kennywood's open means your flyer is down.
Your zipper on your pants is down.
Wow. How? Why?
I don't know. I can't explain that one.
Okay.
But like my entire life, like if you're walking around and your zipper's down, someone will say, "Hey, Kennywood's open," and then it means your zipper's down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you sure you've not made these up?
I'm positive. I got a graphic for you right here. Okay, last one here. Iron City.
That's what Pittsburgh is called, right?
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
also a type of
Beer.
beer. Yeah.
Yeah. I did a video saying like Iron City, but it's like Steel City is what it's called.
Steel City is the city. Yeah.
Because there's a sign like on Mount Washington that says Iron City, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the brand. Yeah.
Yes.
So Iron City is
It's like our Hollywood sign, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we got
the equivalent.
icy light now with the pit cans, the blue and the gold.
Nice.
Yeah.
Icy light.
Buy those just to have the can.
You have some
But-
content to make now from this. Just try to find this chart
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you would
Just
make
go
people eat
around
this shit up, man.
Saying Kennywood's open.
Kennywood's open. Yeah. I mean, hey, you're in there.
I'll
you
do
say
it.
to a Pittsburgher that Kennywood's open.
If you say that with
this
an
guy's
English
been here
accent,
for a
it's
while.
gonna
He
it's gonna
knows
blow
his
people's
stuff.
minds. They're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
I got one more for you because this one actually happened to me. I was somewhere else and I said this and they were like, "What are you saying?" Sweeper.
Sweeper. Sweeper. I have no idea. Sweeper means that. I don't know. I literally can't even guess.
It's a vacuum.
Sweeper vacuum, like one of the on the roads.
No, just like
No,
in your
no,
house.
just in your house.
Vacuuming the carpet. Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure we call like the ones on the roads were like the
Like a street sweeper.
we call
Yeah.
them sweepers. I think.
Yeah. When I was in Westchester, which is 45 minutes outside of Philly, I said to my roommate, "Where's the sweeper at?" And he was like, "What the hell is a sweeper?" And I was like, "Oh wow, I thought that was a across the board term."
We call it a Hoover.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
A Hoover.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you should turn these around onto Will and ask him some English
Yeah.
questions.
I didn't come prepared, but I mean the easiest one I can think of is a bird.
Nice.
You know
That's
that one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
A bird.
Yeah,
Is it spelled the same? BIRD.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Spell.
that's a woman.
that is a woman.
I know that one.
Yeah.
So like if I'm describing like talking about my girlfriend, it's my bird.
Right fit.
Yeah. Fit means good looking.
I've seen the In-Betweeners.
Yeah. And Love Island as well.
Oh, is that like just the show?
Yeah, Love Island's like a reality show that like...
Is that based in the UK?
I think it started in the UK
Maybe.
and then expanded to like Australia and America,
Oh,
but America's the worst
okay.
one out of the three for sure.
Yeah, I believe that.
That sounds about right. That tracks.
I think like the flirting culture in America is different. It's like borderline cringe at times in regards to just like going up to a girl and like, I mean, obviously
having
people,
a pickup line.
Yeah, like
it's not very much a thing in the UK.
It's very much arranged. It's like I'm going to go to this girl and I'm going to say this line and see how it works.
Yeah.
In England, it's like if you think a girl's good looking, I'll say something like, I wouldn't have wore that tonight if I was you, like talking about the dress or whatever like that. And like, that's our way of flirting. It's like giving people a bit of stick. And like, if the girl gives it back and like gives you, like says, oh, your hair's, I wouldn't, like, I don't know, something about your haircut or something like that, it actually means they like you back. That's kind of English culture. Like, we're very like,
if you're like taking the mick out of somebody,
yes,
you are.
It actually means you like them because it means like,
it's like a lot of self-deprecating humor.
Yes.
Like you'll do with your closest buddies. Like if your friend comes over and you're introducing him to other people and he's not around, you'll tell a story about how he like was so drunk he pissed himself, and then he comes back up and you're like, here's my friend. You know?
Exactly.
And it's not like here where you're like, Will is my podcast host. He's awesome. Like
he's
you'll love
such
him.
a good guy. You
It's
would
the
love
opposite.
him, and then girls like, well, I don't care. It's like when someone like me or like anyone from England, especially like come to America, we've got the accent, but also like the way we flirt and stuff like that is like so different. Like it's refreshing for the girls over here because they're so used to being told that they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And then when I come over and say, I wouldn't have wore that if I was you, they're like, this is the guy. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. Man.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, now that you say that, I guess that is the way that, I've heard. I'm just thinking of my teammates, like the way they used to talk to people and stuff. And I never knew that was why. I just thought that was just their personality.
And it's funny because like some Americans will go to the UK and they'll like not pick up on it, and it's really subtle. And like I'll be laughing and I was with my girlfriend at this wedding, like conversationally, like I was with friends from like primary school, right? Haven't seen them in like 15 years, some of them, but like I just knew little things happening, and she just was like not catching on it. And she's not. It's not because she's stupid. She just like didn't understand like, oh, this guy said something to you with a straight face, and I thought he was just like not
being
happy with
mean or
you. I'm like,
something,
no, he's just. He's just kind of being a fuck, but like he's funny.
Yeah.
And then she's
happens
like,
all the
okay.
time. Like people are like, why are you being so mean? It's like, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sarcastic in a different way, you know.
Yes.
But
Interesting.
yeah. So the cultural differences are definitely there. I'm sure you have a good time explaining it to English people, being like, America is gonna be a little different, especially if you go down south. You know.
Oh well, that's a whole other thing.
We're kind of clicking onto an hour here. Where can people find you? Where's the best place they can find you for different stuff that you work on and also your business?
Yeah, so TikTok is always a good go-to. I mean, I've got a following on there as well. So there's a link in my bio if you are looking to get a soccer scholarship. There's a link in my bio that basically will give you a free guide that will help you get on the right track. And then, after that, if you want to explore the opportunity of working with us, give us your email and stuff, and we'll reach out to you. And then there's also Instagram as well. I'm about to start posting on YouTube, and it's all under the same handle. So it's Harrison SZEP, so Harrison Zepp. And it's applicable across all three platforms. So
Easy enough.
exactly.
Well, appreciate you being on. You have a super interesting backstory. You've made Pittsburgh definitely have a good light shined on it that I think most people wouldn't really know. It is kind of a hidden gem of a city. So I appreciate that, and thank you for being on. If you guys have watched this far, go check them out. Send out information to people that play soccer, especially internationally outside of the U.S. if you have anybody that you know of, and we'll have some more guests on here shortly.